Welcome to the second video in the series Making a Difference with Data. This video looks at the basics of qualitative data in higher education. It will also introduce you to some basic concepts and encourage you to think about how qualitative data can be used in your evaluation activities. Qualitative data in evaluation is incredibly useful as it helps you understand why a particular program has worked or why it has not worked as well. It gives you insights into the meanings people attach to things or events and really helps you understand how people feel about a particular experience that they might have had. It also lets you explore in more detail or in more depth the how and why of a topic. And really it can help you unpick people's life's histories to understand why they behave in certain ways or why they respond to a program or an intervention in a particular way. Quantitative data tries to understand the world and explore it through the use of numbers. Qualitative data, however, uses words and images to explore the world and to understand how people operate within that world. It can be really powerful in sharing people's stories and also about explaining not just if something has worked, but really exploring about why it's worked and why it's worked for certain people. There are many different types of qualitative data that can be gathered. And obviously we don't have time to explore all of those in detail in this short video. But really, just here you can see 6 examples of ways that you could collect qualitative data. Often this is through interviews. These can be really structured interviews where you have predefined questions that you ask people, or they could just be a chat where you sit down with just a topic in mind and you explore that topic with somebody on a one-to-one basis. Another example is observations. So this is where you could watch people in a classroom to see how they behave, or you could even watch them in an office to see how colleagues interact with each other. And you take notes about this and write down your observations. Social media in the last over the last decade or so has become really popular as a qualitative research tool, and it allows people to capture thoughts of different individuals across a different range of platforms. Focus groups became really popular in the 1960s as different marketing companies wanted to understand how people responded to different products or TV shows. And so they would get a group of people in a room together and ask them questions, and they'd observe those interactions between people and the ideas that they developed within that group or the thoughts they had in that group. Multimedia such as films or images or photography or even drawings, there's a whole range here of different things have again become really popular in the last few decades as a medium to really explore people's experiences through examples like getting people to take photographs of their journey through a building if they're disabled, and then you would interview them about those photographs and why they took those pictures and what those pictures mean to them. And the last one we've got as diaries here, but this could be a much broader category of documents, and that might be that you get people to write down a daily diary of something that you want to understand a little bit more. So you might want to understand the financial situation of students, and so you might get students to write down their spending habits and why they spend money on certain things and what their motivations are there, for example, and they would keep track of these. And that would really help you explore the different behaviours students attach to spending money. Another example is that you might actually use documents much more broadly. So newspaper stories, you might want to explore how migration is discussed in different newspapers and if that differs depending on the political stance of the newspaper. And so you'd explore the different articles from those newspapers. In the STEER resources, you will also find a number of qualitative case studies of methodologies that the STEER team have used in their evaluation activities. So please do have a look at these and explore those in a little bit more detail. And you might want to think about how you might use some of those methodologies in your own evaluative work. you might want to just take a moment and just stop the video and consider a couple of questions. First of all, maybe just reflect on what you think qualitative data is from what's been presented in this video. And you might also just want to have a quick Google and explore that term a little bit more. And also you might want to think of some examples that might be used at Sheffield Hallam University already that collects qualitative data, or experiences that you've had in your team or in your role in your work where you've collected qualitative data as well. And finally, before we move on to the next section of the video, you might want to just kind of think briefly about what the benefits and challenges of this type of data presents. Qualitative data provides many advantages and many opportunities to really understand why something in evaluation has been successful or why something has not been so successful. It provides depth and detail about attitudes and feelings and behaviours of your participants or the people that you're trying to make a difference to or change in some way through your programme or intervention. It also really creates openness in the fact that between the evaluator and the participant, it allows you to really explore for new topics to come to the surface in a way that predefined questions in surveys that might not allow, because it allows participants to direct that conversation. And it really focuses on the individual and why people act in the way they do, but also why something has worked for some people and not others. And again, you might miss this through a simple survey. But also what's really useful about qualitative methods or data collection is it can support quantitative responses. So you might run a survey where you get a result that you were not expecting, and you might follow that up to explore it in a little bit more detail with interviews or focus groups or another approach. And also it's really good at influencing change. The stories that you gather through qualitative data methodologies can be really powerful, and they can really help shift people's perceptions or feelings or thoughts about a particular topic. However, even though qualitative data has lots of benefits and advantages, it also has some drawbacks and challenges. Firstly, it's very time and resource intensive. So where a survey you can just send out a survey to lots of people all in one go. Qualitative data collection takes a lot more time, and often a lot more forethought has to go into it to get the project up and running. You also usually study fewer people, so this means that you might not be able to draw conclusions, or that you might not be able to generalize your findings in the same way. But also that you've got to balance that with the advantage of it allows you to understand people's experiences and stories in a much more detailed way as well. It's difficult to make comparisons, so if you want to make comparisons between different groups or between different years, it is more challenging, but that doesn't mean it can't be done with the right procedures put in place. And the skills of the researcher do have an impact. As you become more comfortable gathering qualitative data, you become a more experienced interviewer, or you become better at running focus groups, your data quality does increase as well. But don't let your lack of experience also put you off choosing this approach to collecting data. As like we said, the benefits and the advantages can outweigh any of those challenges. And also, you need to also start doing this type of data collection in order to gain more experience. Thank you for taking the time to watch this short video on qualitative data, and please do explore the other resources and the case studies that Steer have put together exploring qualitative data gathering methods. Thank you very much.